welcome to Kit Guru. You're here with me, Christina, and I'm bringing you the Epomaker NT68 65% wireless mechanical keyboard. Now, will Epomaker bring us a magical experience, or will we experience a bit of bad juju? Let's find out, but just before we do, hit that sub and like button right now down below. Epomaker NT68 was released on the 10th of August on Kickstarter. The super early bird price starts at $89, about £66, and the early bird price starts at $95, and that's about £70. Both price sets are at a limited amount on the first come first serve services. These keyboards are available in two versions, the NT68 low profile version and the NT68 regular version, which is what we have as our sample today. Both versions can be used for macOS and Windows. Now, my first impressions is that this box is pretty heavy, and it might be because it weighs about 1 kilogram with everything in the box. The keyboard itself weighs about 0.6 kilograms out of the box though. Inside the box we had the manuals, two nicely made metal-ended short cables. One is a USB-C to USB-C and the other is a USB-C to USB-A in a dinky little Vela bag for safekeeping. Next we have an array of bits and bobs, spare keys to replace the Mac style keys for Windows style ones, and we also have some spare switches with a key puller and a switch puller. Also, we have the keyboard itself wrapped up inside a foldable magnetic carrying case, which also works as a stand depending on personal needs. Fold the case to create a triangle stand with an ergonomic 45-degree angle of tilt to dock your tablet and phone, and then type emails or play games. So let's go into what it looks like. Epomaker have gone for a retro vibe here with the grey and red on some of the keys. There are two colours available, this one and a white version too. The keys are PBT keycaps, but the low profile version has ABS keycaps. They feel well textured and the plastic feels rugged and solid. I also like the metal faceplate that also goes over the sides. The rest of the build is plastic though, just FYI. Underneath we have some really small grip pads, but somehow there isn't that much movement at all. The build quality is also really good and there is no flex or anything like that. The RGB is a little different than perhaps we are used to, as it doesn't shine through the caps themselves but kind of creates a backlighting around the keys. This gives a nice glow to the keyboard rather than the usual glaring RGB lighting we see on most keyboards. If you're in the market for something a little more subdued, then this could be right up your street. Our sample uses the Epomaker's own chocolate red linear switches, but they offer two versions for the NT68, with the proprietary chocolate switches or Gateron regular switches. If you get the low profile model, there is a choice of low profile chocolate switches or Gateron low profile mechanical switches. We have also got one of each of the other chocolate switches here. We have the rose brown tactile 65 plus or minus 5 gram force and the chocolate brown tactiles with 45 plus or minus 5 gram force. The other specs are the same, but you can actually feel the difference even outside of the keyboard. The rose browns have a much more noticeable bump than the chocolate browns. Then we have the chocolate silvers and finally the chocolate reds, which are the ones we have in our sample here. The difference between these two that I can feel is the force needed to push the switch down, and you need slightly more to do so with the reds. You can actually see this when pushing the switches together, that the silver depresses first before the reds. Here is a sound test of all the switches going from reds, silver, brown and rose. Both versions of the GT68 are hot swappable keyboards. The regular version is compatible with 3-pin or 5-pin MX style switches, but for the low profile version you have to use other 3-pin Gateron low profile style switches. The reds in the keyboard though are nice to use, even though I'm not a fan of linear switches. In use for general typing, I could not for the life of me get used to the layout with that backspace button. I would hit the insert button, for instance. In comparison to my own keyboard, it is a little different in terms of layout, and I am a touch typer, and I honestly found it so impossible to do so on this keyboard. Even over time, I still couldn't get along with it. But that's just me. You all might be absolutely fine with it. Also, this is not taking into consideration that you can change the keyboard layout in the software. And that leads us nicely onto software, and here we have the landing page. You can do so much here. I'm just going to run through the main features though. Along this line, you can change your lighting effects and the lighting layers to create a lighting effect as in-depth or as simple as you like. Underneath, you can change the functionality of absolutely every key and make it do something completely different. And once I changed this around, I did find that it was a little more comfortable with the keyboard in general use. On the right here, you can see that the software already has game-related macros in place, which is pretty awesome. And these are also customizable too. Of course, above you have the basic lighting as well. The next tab is lighting effects layers, so you can see everything that you've made as preset and exactly what's going on here. Next is the macro screen, where you can see all of the macros in detail that are assigned to each game, and as mentioned earlier, you can change or remove any of these. So let's talk about some other features when in use. The stand works really well and makes for a nice angle to type on and keeps your device in place if you use it for a phone or a tablet. Epo says it's an invisible stand, but here is the stand in all its glory and all of the possible ways you can use it. Epomaker are keen to show off that you can use the NT68 directly on top of your laptop's keyboard for a better typing experience. However, I really couldn't get to grips with this one, and it felt a little odd and looked even more odd in my opinion. I know the idea is to use it with the trackpad as normal, but I don't know, it just felt odd to me. I also felt it was a little encroaching on the screen a bit too, depending on the angle of which you were kind of sitting. I think that the lower profile version would be much better suited for this purpose. However, using a keyboard on my phone was awesome, but I feel that you would only do that if you also had a tablet connected at the same time, which you can do as you can connect up to 3 Bluetooth devices, or of course use it wired. It's pretty easy to switch between by using the function key and the Z, X or C. Connection confused me at first. You have to hold the FN and space key and then hold the designated letter for the space that you want to connect to. But after I figured it out and read the instructions properly, it wasn't too bad, to be honest. Whilst gaming, I find linear switches just don't suit me personally, but overall there was no noticeable lag or anything bad like that. However, Bluetooth for gaming isn't ideal. It may have some latency, and I would recommend using the cable for the best in-game results. The one thing I would mention is if you are planning to use this as your daily driver on your PC, for example, then you may need to purchase a longer cable, as there are only 2 included and they are very short. So that is one thing they could have included. It would have been a longer cable, because even though this is made to be travel friendly, there is nothing stopping you using this as your daily driver, as it frees up loads of space on your desktop and gives you that extra room when playing FPS games on low DPI. Moving on to the battery, the claims are that you can get 20 to 80 hours with RGB on with a charging time of 8 to 10 hours with USB-C, and I can confirm that I use this keyboard for general use and the odd bit of gaming over a week or so, and the battery was still going strong. But there is no way to really tell what level the battery is, because the LED indicators are red when low, yellow whilst charging, and green when charged. So you only get a very general idea of the battery status. So I left this running to drain, but with no way of turning auto off, even in the software, there was no real way of getting the thing to fully drain. But I was using this over a period of about a week with some light gaming and general tasks, and it was still going strong, so the battery seems to hold pretty well here. Now, after all that information, what's the conclusion, I hear you say? And honestly, I'm torn. There really isn't anything wrong as such with this keyboard, I just personally didn't really get on with it. But it has great build quality and the specs are decent for the money as well. Aesthetically, it's kind of cool that they've gone for that retro look, but really, is there much we haven't seen before? I would say though that the stand is a nice addition and the fact that it is Bluetooth, but I want a keyboard like this with more connectivity options such as a 2.4 GHz wireless, for example, even if it means a dongle so that you can well and truly connect it to anything. Now, that would have made me really get behind this keyboard, as then it would have provided quality specs as well as almost unlimited compatibility, but that's just my opinion. What do you all think? Are you impressed with the Epomaker NT68 65% wireless mechanical keyboard, or can you think of something similar that you would prefer? Let us know down in the comments, and whilst you're there, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and why not check out our merch? You won't be disappointed. If you can't get enough tech news, then also check out our website daily for tech news. My name's Christina, this is Kit Guru, I'll see you next time.